our next speaker, and then we're going to get to the Q&A portion shortly. We're going to hear from a representative of the Midtown Community Justice Center. I'm very pleased to introduce Danielle Mindess, the project director, who helped Councilmember Brewer and Assemblymember Rosenthal and I and our other colleagues in organizing a symposium on e-bike and micromobility safety in the spring. Thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Senator, for having me here. I really appreciate it. I'm Danielle Mindess. I'm the project director at the Midtown Community Justice Center. Hopefully everyone can hear me. So the Midtown Community Justice Center, and you can see the smiling faces of our team right here, has been around for 30 years. And I'm going to share just a very brief overview of our history and what we do today, and then spend the bulk of my time talking about the symposium that we co-sponsored with the Senator, with Councilmember Brewer's office in response to unsafe e-bike and moped riding in the city. The Justice Center was established in 1993 as a response to low-level crime in the Times Square area. And the idea was that folks who were getting arrested on things like low-level drug charges, jumping this turnstile, prostitution, were cycling in and out of jail, and nothing was changing. And it was a public-private partnership between the court system, the city, and a new nonprofit called the Center for Court Innovation, now called the Center for Justice Innovation, to say maybe that's not the most productive thing that we can be doing for these folks. Maybe if we try to meet their needs when they come into the court system, we won't see them back here often. So that was the experiment, and I'll fast forward through about 27 years of history up to the pandemic, when the court was unfortunately closed down, but it gave the team an opportunity to rethink what we were doing and to, that slide is very hard to read on this screen, and to focus outside of the courtroom and into the community. So the court was closed down, and then we started thinking about upstream solutions to these very same quality of life issues in Midtown, and we started a street outreach program in Times Square called Community First, and really leaned into diversion programming to support folks with voluntary services before they ever had to come into court. And today, we're very happy, though, to report that the court is reopening, much thanks to Senator Hoylman-Sigal, who's been a leader in that fight and making that happen. But we haven't lost our touch point with the community and all of that, and we changed our name to the Midtown Community Justice Center from court in order to reflect that. And we're very excited to announce, this is the only part of the slide that you can see, that with Senator Hoylman's support, we're reopening for what we're calling community court in 10 days. So that's gonna be, yes, all the low-level cases and summonses from our catchment area, which is 14th Street to 86th Street on the west side and to 59th Street on the east side. So that's a pretty big chunk of Midtown Manhattan. We have a really wonderful team, an invigorated judge, and we're really excited for what we're going to be able to do. And Councilwoman Brewer has been a huge supporter in that as well. We also, in our courtroom, run the misdemeanor mental health court for Manhattan, which I could do a whole other presentation about and would be happy to speak with folks about, and the emerging adult court, which is 18 to 25-year-olds who are arrested on low-level charges. But I'm here to talk about our symposium. So I'm judging from the reaction that I've heard from the crowd today when this issue has come up repeatedly, folks are quite concerned about micro-mobility vehicles, e-bikes and mopeds driving on our streets in a way that is unsafe, both to pedestrians and cyclists and to the riders themselves. In fact, it is now, I think, the most unsafe profession. It has surpassed the construction industry in that regard. And since I started my job at the end of 2022 and started going to a lot of these meetings, hearing from folks like you all, this was the thing that was coming up over and over again. People were truly terrified of these vehicles on our streets, as I can understand as a person who walks around with small children. But I was conflicted. I was getting approached about it as a person representing the courts and law enforcement. And because this is an issue that is in large part related to newly arrived migrants and consumer demand and big app companies, taking an approach that was law enforcement heavy didn't sit right with me. So I went to our judge and I explained this to him and asked him for his thoughts. And he said, you know, this is where we can really use our power as a convener to bring folks together, real experts on every layer of this issue, and try to see if we can move the needle in that way. And so we went to Senator Hoylman-Sigal, we went to Councilmember Brewer, and we asked for their support. They joined right on board in creating a symposium to do just that, which we called Reimagining Micromobility Safety in NYC, a symposium. Oh my goodness, I did not realize how hard it would be to read. I'm happy to send anybody these slides if people are frustrated that they're unable to read what's written here. We held it March 1st of this year at the beautiful New World Stages Theater, and it was arranged as a hackathon. So we invited experts from our city agencies like the NYPD, FDNY, the DMV, DOT, Consumer Protection, the advocacy groups like Transportation Alternatives, and New Yorker pedestrians for bike safety, and we even had somebody there who himself is a delivery driver, and many more. And we broke up into predetermined small groups to unpack these issues and talk about them in more depth. And there you are. The issues that we worked through were around street infrastructure, battery fires, unsafe riding, and worker exploitation, which are all tied to this same issue. So I want to talk about the key takeaways and recommendations that came out of the symposium. As you heard, Senator Hoylman-Sigal and Assemblymember Boris had their bill signed into law in July, which is extremely exciting, that requires moped registration at the point of sale. There are lots of reasons why this is important. We need to know who's driving on our streets to be able to hold folks accountable for bad driving. But I also just want to share from our perspective as in the courts that we have seen so many people get arrested and come in and tell us that what happened was they were newly arrived to the country. They spent every last dollar they had to purchase a moped so that they could earn money doing delivery driving. They didn't understand that moped was not legally registered. They were then arrested. The moped was seized by the NYPD, and then they were in court. They were going to leave court without a means of providing for themselves. There was really nothing much we could do for them. And this is predatory, right? So that's another issue and another reason why I'm very excited to hear that bill was signed. The senator is also working on the BOT Act, which would ensure that electronic monitoring cannot be used at the detriment of worker safety. So the idea being that the app companies are requiring for deliveries to be happening at a speed that is just completely unreasonable, right? So when delivery workers fail to pick up an order on time or deliver an order on time, they can be deactivated, which is essentially just to be fired from their job. And so that incentivizes people to drive badly, and for us to see the unsafe conditions on our street that we see. And so it's really important that the app companies are held accountable in this way. This bill also ensures that the app companies have to have actual people reviewing termination. So it can't just be an automated process by which a worker is terminated and doesn't know why. And this was something that we heard about a lot at the symposium. Folks' wages were withheld after they'd been terminated without any cause and couldn't get the wages that they had earned. I'm gonna go quickly because I'm being told that I have 1 minute left. You already heard about liability insurance. In the street infrastructure group, just a few quick things that were discussed: building more double-wide bike lanes, adjusting intersections to expand daylighting, which is to ensure that parking is at least 20 to 25 feet away from the intersection to increase visibility, installing a network of protected bike parking so that riders don't have to ride on the sidewalk to come back around. And then the issue of battery safety, which I think most people here are familiar with the fact that lithium-ion batteries that are used in e-bikes cause tragic fires. And that group talked about ways of regulating and ensuring that, that any batteries and bikes that are sold are safe, and also that there are safe ways of charging those. Okay, I went a little over maybe, but more or less. Okay, so here's my contact information, and please feel free to reach out to me if you would like to know more. And I'm sorry you couldn't see my slides.